Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing the live-action adaptation of one of my favorite Disney classics, Beauty and the Beast. This film was in a way almost a quite literal translation of the original cartoon, so I don't think I need to tell you the story about this film. I mean, it is a tale as old as time. But it did change a few minor things as well as add a few details that I think allows it to stand apart from its predecessor. So with that, let's just jump straight into this review. I loved this movie. It was, like I said, almost a literal shot-for-shot remake of the original cartoon. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, the movie was pretty much perfect on its own, but it did add a lot of little details that I think fans of the original cartoon, it expanded on those things in certain ways that kind of gratified those a little bit older viewers, as well as brought something new, obviously, to some newer viewers or people who are being more introduced to Beauty and the Beast as a live action versus the original cartoon. And some of those details I will elaborate on in a second, but first let's talk about the performances. The performances in this movie were actually pretty amazing. I never really felt like anybody was miscast. In fact, it was the opposite. I felt like some people were almost perfectly cast to the point where it was this person was a little translation or ripoff of how this character is. Like, they were so good in their roles that I completely forgot that they were just someone from another role or actor whatsoever. With specific, who I'm talking about is Luke Evans and Josh Gad as Gaston and Li Fu. As for the main star, Emma Watson as Belle did an amazing job. I thought she was actually a lot better than I anticipated. Not that I thought that she was going to do a bad job, I just was spending so many years of her being Hermione. Sometimes it's difficult to disconnect certain people with certain characters. But I think she did a pretty good job of making her own Belle, doing everything very much, not necessarily anti-Hermione or anything like that, anti-Harry Potter, but I felt like she fit this role pretty well. However, there were a few scenes where I felt she didn't quite fit in with maybe the other animated characters, or just certain scenes where she didn't feel like as lively as I think Belle would have been in certain situations, but she did do a good job overall in the entire film. The Beast was also pretty well done. I thought the animation for the Beast was actually really spectacular. There are only very few scenes where I had that disconnect of, oh, this is just an animated character and this is a live action woman, stuff like that. I never really felt that. There was very few times, but I pretty much suspended my disbelief and was able to see the Beast as an actual beast, which I thought was really interesting. Dan Stevens, the man who played the Beast, I thought did a pretty good job. There's a few live action versions of him in the beginning and at the end of just Dan Stevens playing Prince Adam, although he technically doesn't have a name in this movie. That's the name he was given in like a CD-ROM or something like that of Beauty and the Beast after the original movie. Anyway, they also added a song for the Beast, just for the Beast, and I thought that was actually really well done and really well placed in the film. It fit really well. You kind of get the feeling of the pain that Beast has been going through, his strife, his struggles, and I think that really played well into the scope of the movie. I actually really liked that addition a lot. All the other characters were actually well done as well. All of the animated characters I really liked a lot. Lumiere was always my favorite animated character of the original Beauty and the Beast. Ewan McGregor, I thought, did a pretty good job of his own Lumiere, very sort of suave type of thing. I thought that was actually really funny. But surprisingly, the one that sort of stole the show as far as the animated characters for me was Cogsworth, played by Ian McKellen. He was actually really, really funny, and his dynamic with Lumiere is just absolutely hilarious. There were a couple of scenes where I actually was like laugh out loud, sort of laughing, because I didn't expect them to be as funny as they actually were, and it was nice to have that humor in the live action version. Similar feelings of watching the original cartoon. And of course, Gaston and Li Fu were scene stealers, maybe not necessarily always the most favorable of characters based on their actions throughout the film, but they had me rolling, those two were definitely my favorite characters of the entire movie, hands down, at least of the live action ones. I thought they did a great job. Their sort of chemistry together just worked really well, and they were absolutely brilliant. I loved those two characters and those two actors in this role. As for the story itself, it was pretty much the same, but like I said, it did add certain things I think made this film a little bit more interesting. It elaborated on some things I think had some people question, well, as you grew up, you would question certain aspects of the film, but this one kind of answered it in the movie for us, so we wouldn't have to have that speculation later. And some of those things are like the Enchantress. We actually get to see the Enchantress that puts the curse on Adam, or unnamed prince, to make him the beast, as well as certain little things like not only her spell affecting the other people and making them into objects, but the fact that they were turning into those objects more and more as the petals from the rose fell. So for example, Lumiere would become a little bit more stiff, Cogsworth would become a little bit more robotic, like Matronic type of thing. Just little things like Plumette would gain an extra feather or two. Just little things that sort of, the curse just didn't necessarily affect their being, but it's actually turning them into this object, which I thought was an elaboration that was pretty interesting as far as an addition, because I mean, this curse actually, it put more of a timetable on the curse. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, you can be stuck like this forever. No, you can actually be turned into this object and no longer have a chance at being lively or charismatic again. And I thought that was an interesting thing that they put into the movie. And although we don't get to see the Enchantress give it to Adam or the Beast, she actually gives him a book that he can sort of travel anywhere with, that I thought was really cool. I thought that was an addition that sort of didn't really add anything to the story, but I think it definitely gave some interesting points to watch. He actually uses it to show Belle something from her past, which I thought was kind of cool because she had a lot of questions about it but never got answers to them. But in that scene, something very funny happened, and I think that that was the moment that really took me out of the movie, actually. And when they travel, they sort of go through this like cloud sequence for like half a second before they get to their destination. And before they got to their destination, I was this close to screaming out loud in the theater, "They're going to Hogwarts," because that was the same exact sort of clouds rollover that happens at the beginning of every single Harry Potter movie. So I was really hoping, of course I knew they wouldn't, that they would show Hogwarts, because obviously Emma Watson is from the Harry Potter franchise. That clouds roll is from the Harry Potter franchise. And of course, you know, I was hoping for that connection. Obviously it didn't happen because this is a totally different franchise, but just that moment brought that back. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I thought it was brilliant whether it was intentional, because I don't know. But just the fact that it was in there and those things could be associated, I was dying on the floor. I really had to keep quiet because it was just such a mind-blowing moment for me. We also get a little bit of a backstory as to what happened to Belle's mother. It's later in the movie, but we actually get to find out what happened to her mom and why she isn't in the picture throughout the entire film. I thought that was a good addition that answered a lot of questions that people never really got the answer to. And it's good to know that Disney is sort of addressing, you know, people have these questions about these movies. Let's just address it in the movie and move on. Another thing that was affected by this curse was actually the villagers, and it's explained that the Enchantress put a curse on the Beast and the people in the castle, turning them into objects, but the fact that she also erased the people in the castle as well as the Beast and the castle itself from the people's minds, so that's why they don't know who the Beast is. That's why they want to attack him as soon as they find out about him. They just don't remember him. Something really, really interesting in that for some reason. I don't know what it is, but it just adds a certain depth to the story itself that really, really it makes this movie more intriguing, because this not only affected one person and the people living in the castle, it affected the entire village as a whole. And there are some repercussions of that you find out not only at the beginning of the movie, but actually more towards the end of the movie, and what relations that has to the town and the people in the castle. But I think what this movie did were two bold things, and that is, number one, they made Li-Fu gay, which I have no problem with. I mean, I actually thought it added to Josh Gad's character of Li-Fu. It really set him apart from the original show or cartoon. It really made him his own thing. He was already charismatic. There were tons of great influences. I mean, it might have been speculated that he could be gay even in the original, but the fact that they came out and said it pretty much was a big moment, and I thought that was really great. The second thing is that there were actually a lot of black characters in this movie, not only in the village, but actually sort of the main-ish characters in the castle. Plumette is black, and so is the cabinet lady. And I thought that that was really interesting and actually kind of forward thinking of Disney. Obviously, they're not a full black cast, so maybe it's not a big deal. But I like that inclusion factor that they're sort of heading in towards a more open-mindedness, not only with the gay thing, but also with the adding more of a dynamic background of characters. I thought that was a lot better than what they were sort of used to with sort of an all-white Disney movie. As I said, I think this film was a great adaptation through and through. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It stood on its own feet, and it was actually a really great adaptation. And for that reason, I have to give Beauty and the Beast an A. So guys, that is my review for Beauty and the Beast. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what your favorite Disney classic film is. For me, probably have to say it's Aladdin. I'm pretty sure that was like my first Disney movie in the theater, so it sort of holds a special place in my heart. But I think definitely Aladdin is my favorite. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. While you're down there, hit that big subscribe button so you can subscribe to see future videos, as well as the little notification bell to be alerted when I have a new video that's posted. I have a lot that's coming up actually. I have my Turbo, a Power Rangers movie review coming up. I have my new Power Rangers reboot movie review coming up as soon as I see that, hopefully Sunday. Later than I wanted to, but I will have it up as soon as I see it, as well as my Iron Fist Season 1 review. I'm only a few episodes in, but I'm enjoying it so far, so hopefully I'll be able to review that as soon as I'm done watching that. So be sure to hit the subscribe and notification bell so you can be alerted when I post those videos. Guys, thank you so much for watching. You really are the best, and I'll see you in the next one.